All right, so I'll go just a little bit more in depth this time and answer a few questions. The first question is, how do you actually make stuff? I mean, how do you actually use stuff when you make it, right? I guess that's a little bit confusing. Okay, so you're making stuff over here in the production line, right? Like, for example, I'm making improved artillery. So how do I actually make some improved artillery and send it to the front? Well, I need to go to my recruit and deploy screen, and you might notice over here that there's no artillery symbol, and that's just because the symbols don't really mean anything. Look, I can change the symbol to anything I want. Basically, you're just designing your own templates of mix and match of units. So, if that makes any sense, say I were to come over to here into my infantry division. I actually have already done this, but I assigned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 artillery units to this division. That means this division, every time I train it, is going to get 5 artillery brigades, or whatever you would call these little units inside of a larger division. Okay, does that make sense? So that's how you actually are going to be using the artillery. And you can actually click division equipment here, and you can see well, this I'm not 100% sure about, but you can say which level of equipment you want to reinforce with. Like right now I'm reinforcing with everything, including towed artillery from another country. I'm not sure what flag that is. But anyway, you'll have the artillery in here, right? Okay, so it actually should tell you somewhere exactly how much artillery you're going to need. I don't actually see that. But anyway, yeah, here we go. Equipment cost. That's what you're looking for. Okay, so it says you need 204 artillery to make this division. Okay, so you're not just making an artillery. You're making a whole division that has units of artillery in it, if that makes any sense. Okay, and so now you want to create that unit. All you got to do is click train this division. This is the division we just made with the artillery, right? And it'll appear somewhere. I'm actually already making it though, so I'm not going to do that. I'm actually making it here and here. I don't know why I have these separated. They could just all be together. What you can do is you just make it once, and then you add as many units as you want, because you can make as many units, you can train as many units simultaneously as you have supplies for. Okay. Now, in order to deploy it, you have to click this and then tell it where to deploy. I usually deploy my shit in Kansas because that way, I'm equidistant from the West Coast and the East Coast, whether I'm going to fight the Japanese or the European theater, right? So that's how you actually make units, okay? And the different divisions can be mixed and matched with all the other units. It's a little bit different when you get into airplanes and stuff. So, for example, these airplanes, I'm making 5 or 6 a day. A lot of those are going to go to fill spots where the planes have gotten shot down. Okay, but when they're not shot down, they go into reserve. Okay, so I come over here and I click on my air. This is going to show me all my air units everywhere. Now, air is a complicated subject, and I'm not going to get into it too much here because there's a lot of detail and stuff, as you can probably see. But basically, you have, these different airports or air bases or whatever you want to call them, different places. Now, if you want to see how many planes you have on reserve, I actually have a ton right now. And it's because I don't have enough places to use them right now. So I'm just building, because I know eventually I will. Okay, so for example, I have 3,000 fighters. So all I need to do is go to an air base, create new air wing. And where's my 3,000 fighters? Okay, I have tons of these. So I like to make about units of 100 because that seems to work pretty well. So I don't really know exactly what the different numbers of airplanes. I mean, you just last longer, I guess. So I'm gonna make 100 right there, and so now I have an air unit. And I'll teach you about deploying it and stuff later. But anyway, I have an air unit now. It just took 100 planes. It took a certain amount of manpower to become pilots, and it's gonna air base them in California, and they'll be able to run missions and stuff. As far as ships are pretty much just created wherever you tell them to be created. So as soon as they're done, I make 5 of these subs a year. They just pop up over here in Oregon because that's where I assigned them. I could assign them to any other port in my country if I wanted to, but I just do Oregon because most of my naval fighting is going to be with the Japanese. Okay, you got that? All right, now how to use the trade interface was another question. And it's a little bit complicated. You don't have to worry so much about it, but like here's just to explain something that really was confusing to me. You don't have any control over how many units you're exporting of your resources. Okay, so like I'm using a certain amount of my resources. The rest of the resources I have are just wasted. Just forget about them. They're wasted. They go into an export pool, and then whoever wants to, as long as they're on good terms with me, can get these resources by giving me some of their civilian factories. Now, you might notice I have, I think I have Japan, what's the word? Embargoed right now, so Japan can't actually get my resources. But I did that through a doctrine or whatever. So yeah, you have no control over who gets your resources really, and the ones that you don't actually use are just wasted. They go into the pool. Either someone picks them up and you get civilian factories, or they don't. Okay, so just that's how it works. Now, as far as like importing resources, you don't need to do anything until you actually get a resource shortage. And when you get a resource shortage, you will get a little pop-up here, and it will say, you don't have enough resources. Okay, so then all you need to do is, find which resource it is, and the game makes it really easy. Okay, and then you're going to find a country that has some available and who also doesn't hate you. Like, I cannot trade with Japan, obviously, they hate my guts. I cannot trade with the German Reich. I cannot trade with Hungary. I cannot trade with Romania because they've sided with the Germans, so I can't do that. Okay, I can trade a lot with the United Kingdom, but the fact of the matter is they don't have that much oil. I have enough oil. But the United Kingdom, because it has these Asian colonies, has a ton of rubber, so I get most of my rubber here from them. And all I do is click on it. I just say how much I want. This button's really handy because it automatically imports the amount you need. I just use that and then send. Okay, and as long as there's no pop-up telling you resource shortage, then you don't need to worry about it. You will get this message sometimes later in the game, unfulfilled import request. So like chromium from the United Kingdom, they only have 3. I'm trying to import 48. Well, actually, they have more than 3, but they only have 3 to trade with me, because they have a relationship with someone else who has higher influence on them, so they're trading most of that away. Now, that's not necessarily stuff you need to really focus on, but just when you get the pop-up that says you're short on resources, that's the only time you really need to worry about trade. Otherwise, it's not a big factor. Okay? How do you issue orders to your divisions? All right, that's a pretty difficult question, and we could go really, really in-depth with the whole war and making battle plans and stuff like that. As far as just movement orders, you want to make sure you're always in default map mode when you're dealing with your armies. Okay, so I've got some units here in Kansas that were just created. I want to move them over to Norfolk because that's where I have my biggest port. All you got to do is right-click. Boom. Okay, that's easy. That's just movement, all right? As far as attacking and stuff, okay, let me just give you an example here. I've got the army over here. This is Patton. No, this is not Patton. Yeah, it is Patton. This is Patton. Okay, so here's my Patton army. He's been pushing up the peninsula here. And really, I feel like there's no reason why I can't take more land because these guys have been pretty inferior. I have air superiority here. I have better units. So let's make a plan to take a bit more of the pie. So we want to go to offensive line. And what you're going to do is decide how far you want to advance, how far you want to push your luck, essentially. So I think I want to advance here, so I'm holding down the right mouse button. And I think that seems like a reasonable chunk, so I'm going to move up to there, if I can. All right? Now, what you can do now that you've issued those orders is you can wait, and they'll get a bonus to attack from their preparation. The more you let them sit there and prepare and muse on this attack, the more bonus they'll get when they eventually attack. See, it's already gone up to 2%, which just gives me a basic flat 2% attack and defense thing, okay? So I don't really want to wait, and I don't think I need to wait. So what I want to do is issue my order, okay? It says some divisions not in position. I'm not sure why it says that. They seem to be all in position. So that's a little bit confusing, but there are still some things about this game that are confusing, and the wiki, you know, is still being worked on, so I don't understand everything by any means, but I don't put too much stock in this. It says the plan is risky, but it also says inferior enemy. Set this aside for a minute. I got some new infantry equipment, so I'm going to have to upgrade that. Matter of fact, I might as well just do that while I'm explaining things to you here, to show you also how to upgrade. So we got infantry equipment 1. Now we want to switch to infantry equipment 2. This is going to hurt our production efficiency a lot. In fact, it killed it. But we'll have better weapons automatically. So it says, you know, you need 110,000 upgrades. So it's going to take a while, but not too long because I have a lot of production there. Okay, I'll also need to quickly just choose something new to research. I've been working quite a bit lately on my infantry, not on this particular thing, but on the different weapons and stuff they use. I need to be getting better engineers and stuff like that. Alright, so let's go ahead and have them execute this battle plan. And it's going to push up to that line. So it looks like it's not starting. Oh, I clicked the wrong one is why. Here we go. So they're going to start pushing towards that border, okay? Meanwhile, I've got these guys. I just attacked, this is fascist Spain. England had come and taken a big chunk of it, but then the German army arrived and took a bunch of it back. So I'm a little bit scared. I've established like a little beachhead here around Barcelona. I don't really want to push forward because if I get, you know, if you make your front line too sparse, then it's easy to break through. And once you get broken through, they can surround you and then they cut off your supplies, and it's just a bad deal. So it looks like it's going really well over here. If you want, you can click on these little things and see what's going on exactly. So I'll explain this to you just real quick. It gets really in detail, as you can see, but this tells you like what kind of support you have, some air support, okay? So I have tons of air support on my side, and I'm doing all kind of damage to them. That just gives you some information about that. This is the basic who's winning and who's losing. I'm currently just demolishing them, okay? Patton has some special abilities that you can read about there if you want, and he's also a level 5 general, which gives him a flat bonus attack and defense. Really nice. The generals choose tactics, and that has different effects on the battle. I don't, you know, I think you can manually choose the tactics, but I really don't recommend that. I just let the AI do that. And then, you know, I have air support because I have air superiority here. And I'm also attacking from multiple directions, which gives me another bonus. He has enemy air superiority, which is a negative modifier because I have superiority. You can see your different divisions. This is combat width. Combat width I'll probably cover like later when I explain a little bit better. But basically, how many units can attack at once? So I can only see these guys are just waiting in the wings. They can't attack because there's only a certain width that you can attack with. But it doesn't matter. I've got way more units than him. Which is not always doesn't always matter. It's like, say he has 5 divisions and I have 5 divisions. Well, only 5 versus 5 is going to happen at once. Then if two of my divisions die, I'll have 2 reserves pop in and he won't. So I'll be able to last longer. But anyway, all these things I'll explain to you in more detail. Soft attack, hard attack, breakthrough. Don't be scared off by that. It's just how the AI does all its like calculations and stuff. So let's like unpause and I'll just show you like we're advancing. We're taking the territory, and Livorno is, I think, going to be worth something. Yeah, it's worth some victory points. Victory points go towards the ultimate win or lose of the war. Actually, we're winning now. I was losing. The defenders were the defenders. We were losing for a long time, but it seems to have like turned a corner. So yeah, it is December. Oh, that was December 7th, 1941. Everybody knows what happens on that day, but it looks like they're gonna not come after me here in Pearl Harbor. Yeah, the Japanese have been losing. Like they tried to fight China and they lost to China. It's not perfectly historical, in other words. So you know, obviously the Pearl Harbor would happen, but in this point in history, Japan also controlled like all of Korea, a bunch of stuff over here in China. They controlled like oh god, what is it? They controlled like parts of Malaysia and Burma, what's called Myanmar or whatever. So it's not historically accurate at all. In fact, Japan is like pretty much gelded at this point, which is great for me because I can kind of turn my attention to the other side of the map, which is what I need to do. So yeah, that's some basic answers to your questions. Any more, just go ahead and message me. Thanks. Bye.